number 20? Yeah. The glory years. So this video is money mistakes to avoid in your 20s. Your 20s are such critical years for your financial future. In fact, I would say much more important than any other decade of your life. You can determine a lot of what somebody's finances are going to look like at 50 by what they did at 20.
I find it amazing just to look back, like as I find people on Facebook from high school, right? People who, like, we were at the same place when we hit 18, right? Mm-hmm. And I see where they are today and where I am today, and I'm not comparing numbers and stuff, but I just look and I think, that person now has a totally different mentality than I do. It's everything about their life. And so then you kind of look back and you see what they did, and it's like, okay, they made very, very different financial and career choices in their 20s. And so we want to help you today to just get yourself set from a young age so that you're good to go for the rest of your life.
The first thing you've got to do in your 20s, what would be a huge mistake is missing this one, is not starting long-term investing. So let's say you only ever have enough margin to invest $250 a month during your working career, 20 to 60, right? Well, if you start investing that $250 a month, which isn't much, I mean, we can all do this, right? Yeah. $250 a month. If you started it when you're 20, you're going to end up with $1.897 million, as Michael Scott would call it, a milski.
By the time you're 60.
By the time you're 60.
That's even before retirement age for most Americans.
Now, let's say you just were busy, you were in grad school, whatever.
Or 250 felt like too much of a stretch, so I just can't do it.
You waited until you were just 30 to start investing, still young to start investing. Well, now you only have $678,000. Whoops.
Those
the delta
10
there
years
is
cost you
$1.2 million.
That's a lot of milskis.
Ouch. Ouch. Just by delaying the start of your investing.
Yeah.
So get in a place to start investing soon. Yes, don't go in debt. You should spend all your money on college tuition if you're in college, but as soon as humanly possible, start putting that $250 a month away.
And I think that is absolutely key. Every one of us could look at our budget at that point and say, I just don't have a lot of extra room. But if you just set the $250 aside first, you can live on a little bit less. Yeah. In almost every single case, you could live on $250 less. Okay. The next one is student loans, which really comes down to picking the right or the wrong college. Taking out large amounts of student loans in your early 20s could set you up for an entire lifetime, an entire career of financial slavery. And really that's happening to a lot of people right now, is they're getting themselves burdened with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a degree. We had some comparisons. We were just looking up like, okay, how much does it cost to go to Harvard? And then we started looking at many other universities that aren't Harvard, right? Boston College costs over $29,000 per semester for tuition.
Where I went to school, $4,208 per semester at Brigham Young University, Idaho. And they have a 97% acceptance rate.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. and here's the thing is, in today's world, like BYU Idaho, as well as many other universities, are opening up more online opportunities. So if you say, well, BYU Idaho can't take all of us, right? Actually, they can. They're in a position now where BYU Idaho is accepting people remotely all over the world, and they're able to get a good degree and learn the skills that they need to learn. You won't have access to the full catalog of courses, but depending on the degree you're in, literally everybody watching this video could go to BYU Idaho.
When you're in college, you like to think that you're going to make way more money if you go to this school that's 5 spots higher on the U.S. News Report. It's just not true. No. We hire people. Would you hire somebody because they went to Boston College rather than BYU Idaho?
No.
Would you even ask? No. I don't care where you went to school.
I care what
you can do for my company.
Yeah. Getting your very first job out of college, where you go to school only matters because of what companies recruit at your school, right? And where I went to BYU in Provo, Utah, I had excellent companies coming to recruit engineers. I was a chemical engineering major. We had excellent companies. ExxonMobil recruits chemical engineers out of BYU. And we're going to work at the same company as guys that went and got their degree from Purdue and many other universities that you've probably actually heard of. It really makes very, very little difference. And in today's world, there's very, very little reason to go get a degree from a pedigree school. Unless you're just wanting a very, very specific career path and you're willing to pay for it.
As soon as school's over, people in their 20s get house hungry. So house hungry. I was too. And it's a huge mistake, but maybe not for the reason that you're thinking. If you do the math, it depends how you look at the figures, if it's better to rent or to buy. It's debatable. You're going to see people say both things.
Yeah,
right?
The monthly cost of a mortgage and everything is a little bit less than the rent cost, so I should just go buy a house.
But then you have house maintenance and all that kind of stuff that you have. So, we can debate that, fine. But there are other reasons why you should not buy a house in your 20s, probably at all, even if you can afford it. And it's that in your 20s, you're bouncing between jobs, statistically a lot.
Right.
You may be moving between cities, statistically a lot. And if you buy a house and that market goes down, you're done.
That's it.
You can't take that better paying job because, it's
Can't
in
afford
a
to
city
move.
2 hours away and the house lost value and you can't leave it and shoot. I don't have many career prospects here. It really boxes you in. Maybe you're not married and then you get married and by the time you're 30, you have 4 kids and it's like, you're busting at the seams and you can't leave this place. A house locks you in. In your 20s is not a time to do it. You're going to be house hungry. You don't have a lot of down payment for that house. You're going to make mistakes. Just rent.
And that's a really key point too about the down payment is you're probably going to be taking all of the savings you've been able to accumulate to put down on a house. Well, what if instead you actually had an emergency fund that would help you be more financially fit and be able to avoid things like payday loans and crap?
And once you get that, what if you took that money and invested it
Yeah.
early when it's going to make a huge difference later?
And I'm probably not going to dump all of it in like a retirement type account, but put it into some ETFs or some mutual funds and things and make some money on it by the time that you're ready to buy a house. And I would say wait till you reach a point where you're going to be able to settle down for several years and be confident that you're not going to need to move. And by the time you reach that point, you'll have accumulated plenty to put down a great down payment and be able to avoid stupid taxes like mortgage insurance and stuff, and a much higher interest rate, which you get charged by not putting enough down. So just hold off on buying a house. I didn't. I got lucky. I worked for a great company that I knew that if I moved within the company, that they would make up the difference if I lost money on my house. That is mostly unheard of. And at one point, that company laid me off. And the next time I had to move, I didn't have that benefit anymore. And I was fortunate that I was able to sell in an up market. If it had been a down market, I could have lost tens of thousands of dollars and had to foot the difference myself.
Another one that not enough people talk about is not charting a clear career path in your 20s. A lot of the times I talk to people in college and I say, hey, what are you doing? I'm going into business. And it's like, okay. A business degree is so broad. Now, I don't have a problem with a business degree.
Absolutely
it's
not.
fine. But that's not a career path. Business degree is not a career path. A business wants you to do something specific in that company. And so the story of a lot of people, of business majors, is you get out of school, you're taking a low-level paper pusher job, you do that for 2 years and you get sick of it, you go to another paper pusher job, then you do something a little bit in the marketing department, then you do a little something here, a little bit of finance, and now you're 30 and you really have no experience that can get you to those higher level jobs working toward your higher income earning potential years. And so you have to chart a clear career path. You say, I am going into sales. I'm going to go get my business degree. And then every job I can take in sales, even if it's a little bit less money, I'm taking the sales position. Because eventually those sales guys can earn a lot.
Yeah.
Salespeople can do really well. But you have to chart a clear career path.
Now, if you look at that and you say, yeah, but I want to be in executive leadership someday, and so I need a breadth of experience as well as depth of experience. The mistake a lot of people make is they swing too far the other way. And companies make this mistake all the time where they put you on some sort of a program, a rotation, so that you spend 1 year in 4 different jobs, and now suddenly you're prepared to be a leader in the company. The problem is that your experience is so shallow. You've never completed any sort of a project and been able to see the long-term results of it. And so your experience is so shallow and you have not actually accomplished anything. So now you have nothing to say, nothing to show for it. And anybody I've seen that goes through that sort of a process, either on their own or guided by a company, if they succeed at getting into leadership in the company, it becomes apparent within a few years that they're incompetent to be a leader. So make sure you spend several years in each one of these fields. Spend a few years in sales. Spend 4 or 5 years in supply chain and logistics. Spend some time in marketing, if it's the business path. If you got a degree in art history, make a plan, right? What am I going to do for a career in art history? If you have a path, you can follow that path, and by the time you hit your 30s, you are well set to share your expertise and be able to use that to have a solid, successful career.
The last mistake is not starting a side hustle. With technology and just how the world works today, there is no excuse for not having a side hustle for most people. In your 20s, no matter how busy you think you are, life will get busier. And so this is the time when you have fewer responsibilities. You probably don't have a large family yet. You have just fewer constraints on you. Is a great time to be starting a side hustle. And the good news is we made a video for you on 7 side hustles you could start today and earn $25,000 this year. So go check out that video. I think it can point you in the right direction.